It's 2021, the year of the air fryer. Whoa! If you stick Gal Gadot, Chris Pine, and director Patty Jenkins in here, what you get is all the goodness that is 2017's Wonder Woman. And all the grease and crap at the bottom is this movie. Wonder Woman 84. So this review was requested by one of my subscribers, Christine, and she writes, "Hey there, Mr. Movie Guy. I watched Wonder Woman 84, and I didn't like it as much as the first one. I'm just wondering, see what I did there, what you thought of the movie." Thanks for writing in, Christine. Now for those of you who want to send in a review request to me, it's just 2 easy steps. Hit that subscribe button and simply write your request in the comments below. And maybe I choose your request for my next video. Plus you'll be supporting this channel along the way, so why not? Now let's talk about Wonder Woman 84. So once again, Gal Gadot teams up with director Patty Jenkins and returns to reprise her role as Diana Prince, aka Wonder Woman. Set in 1984, she finds herself reuniting with her past flame, Steve Trevor, played by Chris Pine. But Pablo, how is he back after what happened to him in the first film, I hear you ask?
It cannot be. You fell.
Well, I'll let the film explain that part. Sure enough, Diana and Steve find themselves facing off against our villains, Maxwell Lord, played by Pedro Pascal, and Barbara Minerva, aka Cheetah, played by Kristen Wiig.
I'm crazy.
Oh, and there's a MacGuffin here in the form of a magical stone. I forgot what it's actually called, but its name isn't terribly important. It's essentially a wishing stone, which the main plot revolves around.
I take what I want in return.
Wonder Woman 84 is 2020's final big blockbuster that has a day and date release, which means it's available in both theaters and streaming. You can find it on HBO Max.
Streaming exclusively on HBO Max.
Prior to the first Wonder Woman film in 2017, I was skeptical when I found out this Gal Gadot was cast as the titular character. Ha! Titular. Because prior to Wonder Woman, I've only seen her in the Fast and Furious franchise. And I thought, yeah, she's not a solid actress. Yet. Plus, she needs to pick up a dumbbell or two.
You don't send a man to do a woman's job.
So after getting trained by Mark Twight, who I refer to as that Jim Jones guy who put muscle in all the actors that's ever worked for Zack Snyder, Gal Gadot started to look the part. And becoming one of the highlights in Batman v Superman.
She with you?
I thought she was with you.
All we needed was the magic touch of a talented director that can help hide Gal's weaknesses as an inexperienced actress and who knows how to highlight her strengths. So who better than the director who helped Charlize Theron win her Oscar for Monster, Patty Jenkins. And it helped having Chris Pine there to do most of the heavy lifting performance-wise. 2017's Wonder Woman garnered a whopping $822 million in the worldwide box office, along with a lot of love from the critics, giving it a 93% Rotten Tomatoes score. With these two coming back along with the same director for the sequel, surely it's gonna be another winner, right? Well, not quite. And here's why. As I approach the second act of the film, I can see the wheels starting to come off. Then I got to the third act, and my god, it was messy. There was a boss fight with Cheetah with questionable CG. So of course they made this fight happen at night to hide the subpar effects.
What did you do?
Although I must admit that the close-ups of Kristen Wiig's face as Cheetah wasn't all that bad. But that doesn't hide the fact that the third act was a complete mess.
Look at the mess!
It totally lacked subtlety and was overstuffed with so much visual noise with events taking place from different parts of the world. So much of the overall message of the film is lost through all the visual distractions on the screen.
The answer is always more.
And in all its efforts trying to add so many flavors in this one dish, the final product still ended up bland.
There must be 20 things going on this plate. It's just confusion.
And about halfway through, I was thinking, when is this gonna end? I knew I should have peed before coming here. If I go to the bathroom now, I might miss out on something important.
I could go right now.
Then go.
No, I can't. I want to, but I can't.
Yeah, I should have just peed. Just like a young Diana, I wanted to take a shortcut just to make this movie end.
That is the truth.
And the pacing was pretty poor. There's a significant amount of time between the action set pieces that by the time we see her in her Wonder Woman outfit again, I almost forgot I was watching a Wonder Woman movie. And a lot of that time spent in between kinda drags on.
Pace yourself and watch.
Now, the biggest offender about this movie is the screenplay. We've seen some quality comic book movies for a solid 2 decades now, since the first X-Men film back in the year 2000. So I guess you can say that we're used to suspending our disbelief when it comes to this genre. But your ability to suspend your disbelief will truly be put to the test here. It's unfocused and all over the place, like a hyperactive kid who found where you stash all the candy. It's packed full of inconsistencies, cliches, pandering, and annoying unearned conveniences that are force-fed to you.
No time to talk. Now remember, it's your first day of training.
They crammed a lot of stuff in the film that often had no build-up or reference to it, but just done for the sake of nostalgia. It came across as cheap and sometimes corny. And to top it off, there's a lot of cheesy dialogue and campy elements here that it felt like I was watching a Sunday morning cartoon.
That you do.
Wonder Woman.
I often found myself switching between being irritated by the story or being bored by it. And Steve Trevor's return raises some serious questions about Diana's morality, but is conveniently ignored because romance! They've also broken some canon elements that tie into the other DCEU films. Not much of a big deal, but I thought it's still worth mentioning.
Steve Trevor tell you that?
For all the good and sometimes great things that this movie did, it sadly wasn't enough to save it from a below-average script.
How dare you!
The writing team from the first movie had Ellen Henberg. And that was a great movie. The writing team for 84 was David Callahan, big DC guy Jeff Johns, and Patty Jenkins. Number 1, where's Ellen Henberg? And number 2, since the third Wonder Woman movie has been greenlit by Warner Brothers, maybe get Ellen back to help write. I'm just saying, because at least in the first one, I didn't feel like I was getting kicked in the face over and over and over again.
You win. Perfect.
Now, this film isn't a complete train wreck. As I mentioned earlier, it does some good and sometimes great things, like Hans Zimmer's score, for example. If you close your eyes and just listen to the score, this sounds like an excellent movie. Zimmer simply doesn't know how to disappoint. And if you pay close attention, we also hear the music from Batman v Superman in the third act.
Wonder Woman.
I mean, that bit of trivia isn't that cool on its own, but what I do find cool is Zimmer's name being attached to so many DC and DCEU properties that he's become one of the constant gems throughout the franchise.
2 notes, but the amount of expressiveness you can put into them.
The first act was fun. Just as shown in the trailers, we see Themyscira again and some crime-fighting action that takes place in a mall. Sure, the mall scenes were campy and lots of people complained about the overall point of the opening sequence as young Diana, but I gotta be honest, I had a lot of fun watching all of that. Those 2 action set pieces drew me in and got me so riled up to see the rest of what the movie had to offer. Just as it was one of the main highlights from the first film, seeing Chris Pine and Gal Gadot's romantic chemistry as Steve and Diana was awesome. Pretty much all the scenes between them were great, and there was some real power in the dramatic scene that they share. I just want to see these 2 on screen all the time. Hell, it doesn't even have to be a Wonder Woman film. If you told me that these 2 were going to star in a rom-com or dramedy, I would just eat that up. I liked how they switched up the fish out of water trope from Diana being introduced to civilization in 1918 to Steve Trevor having to learn the new ways of living in 1984.
That's just a trash can.
It's just a trash can. Yeah.
Steve Trevor, a soldier and a man out of time. Wrong Steve.
I understood that reference.
Putting aside the corny dialogue, poor CG, and weak character arcs, the performances of our 2 villains were really good. Honestly, I came in with some doubts about Kristen Wiig's performance, but I was pleasantly surprised.
I just love surprises. I'm so freaking effing excited.
And Pedro Pascal was great. Definitely one of the worst written characters in the film, but Pedro committed and still brought the goods, even when he goes over the top.
I am not a loser. He's a loser.
And Gal Gadot's acting prowess has significantly improved. She's no Meryl Streep, but you can tell that Gal's acting has seriously leveled up, especially with the more serious and dramatic scenes. And there's no question that her physicality portraying a superhero is clearly one of her strengths.
And now we will see that the man is superior to the woman.
Gal's come a long way from her beauty pageant days to now being a box office draw playing the most beloved female superhero of all time. Plus, she's ridiculously beautiful in a major way.
Major.
Now, before I share my final thoughts, just a friendly reminder to click like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss out on my future videos. Subscribe. And if you like my content, I want you to become one of my valued subscribers by supporting this channel on Patreon, simply at patreon.com/Peter Pablo Reviews, just like these Patreon legends right here. You'll also find a link in the description below. And now for my final thoughts.
I can do it.
Just do your best.
Starting with the lows, we've got a messy third act, pacing issues, and an unfocused screenplay. And as for the highs, we've got an amazing score by Hans Zimmer, a fantastic first act, and a great romantic chemistry.
I think we can do better.
So overall, I found this film incredibly disappointing. Sure, it had its fun moments, but it was a huge step down from its predecessor. That's only because the first film knocked it out of the park. Whoa. With Wonder Woman 3 officially getting made, I'd still be excited to see it. I like to look at Wonder Woman 84 as Patty Jenkins' bad day at the office. Looking at Patty's filmography, she has more wins than losses, so I won't hold this against her. Between this and Harley Quinn's Birds of Prey, 84 was the better movie. I just want to get my hands on that wishing stone and wish that this movie was at least as good as the first one. There's a great movie in here somewhere, under all the mess. Wonder Woman 84 came out in theaters and HBO Max at the same time, but HBO Max is predominantly available in North America. So if you don't live there, then chances are you're living in a city or country where the theaters have reopened. I wouldn't say that this is the movie that you should rush to the theaters for, but if you do decide to go, I would say lower your expectations. This film is currently sitting on a Rotten Tomatoes score of 60%, so it's leaning towards the positive side. Just so you know, there's a mid-credit scene here, which I thought was pretty fun, and a nice nod to the fans. Just to make sure there are no hidden scenes at the very end, my bladder and I suffered through to the end credits, so you don't have to. So have you seen Wonder Woman 84 yet? Did you watch it at home on HBO Max, or did you watch it in theaters? Tell me your experience. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Or were you somewhere in between? I've shared my thoughts, now I want to hear yours. And remember guys, I take review requests, so smash that subscribe button and leave me a comment. And who am I, you ask? I'm John David Washington. Bye for now. Now for those of
Oh, shut your mouth, you thong-wearing fatty!
So I hear you like pressing buttons. Well, how about pressing this button to subscribe? And get your friends and family to do the same. Why not? It's good for the environment. And if you want to see my other videos, well, here's a good place to start.